From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue, Bakersfield, California. Kern County's vision is to create and maintain a customer-centered county government designed to garner the confidence, support, and trust of the people we serve. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Good morning. Welcome to the Tuesday, February 27 meeting of the Kern County Board of Supervisors. The board will reconvene. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Gleason.
Here.
Supervisor Scribner.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez. Here.
We're going to begin our morning with a salute to the flag. It's going to be led this morning by Lamar Kerley, who is someone we're going to honor this morning, a respected and, unfortunately for us, retiring member of the Behavioral Health and Recovery Services Department. He's a deputy director there. And then after he is done leading the flag salute, would you please remain standing for a moment of prayer, silence, or meditation?
Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you, Lamar. There are copies of the agenda at the back of the room if you'd like to have one to follow along this morning. We conduct our consent agenda early in the format this morning. So if you would look at the consent items, I'm going to read to you a little bit about that, and then I'll explain to you what's on consent this morning. Consent items are all listed with a CA or a C above them, and they are considered to be routine and non-controversial by staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item or items that are on consent, they may do so prior to the vote being taken on the consent agenda. A member of the board may remove any item from the consent agenda, and it will be considered in a listed sequence with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning that item before it's taken up if it is indeed pulled from consent. So let's start with our consent items on page 2 of our agenda. Items 5, 6, and 7. On page 3, items 10 and 11, and then 13 through 16. On page 4, items 17 through 23. On page 5, all the items 25 through 31. On page 6, all the items 32 through 38. On page 7, all the items 39 through 46. And on page 8, items 47 and 48. Are there any members of the public who would like to make comment about any items that are on consent? Are there any members of the board who would like to pull an item or make a comment about anything? If not, I'll entertain a motion to proceed with the consent agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you very much. We're going to make a few presentations this morning, and the first is a resolution honoring Lamar Kerley, who I introduced earlier. He is from the Behavioral Health and Recovery Services Department. He is a deputy director, and he is retiring after 32 years of service. We are grateful for his time in service to our community. Supervisor Perez will make the presentation.
Thank you, Chairman. Motion on resolution.
Second.
Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Good to see you. Mr. Kerley, I dressed up for you today. Special day. Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. It is a distinct privilege to be with Mr. Bill Walker and Lamar Kerley this morning. I'm excited because we get an opportunity this morning to honor one of Kern County's dedicated public servants and adopt this resolution honoring Lamar Kerley for 32 years of service. 32. Mr. Kerley began his county career with the Department of Human Services as a social services worker. 3 years later, he had the opportunity to begin a trainee internship with the Forensic Services Division of Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, formerly the Mental Health Department. Since that time, Mr. Kerley has worked his way through the department as mental health counselor, unit supervisor, system administrator, and eventually deputy director of Administrative Services Administration. It is notable that Mr. Kerley has worked in all divisions of the department, aging you, including forensics, adult services, children's services, psychiatric evaluation center, ITS, and finance. And it is particularly noteworthy that he was the first clinical staff in the state to become part of an IT division. My chief of staff, Nicole, says this is unheard of. So truly, truly remarkable. This, of course, was key in the implementation of the electronic health record for Kern, BHRS. It is indeed my understanding that we will be seeing Mr. Kerley during our afternoon session, where he will be receiving an Employee Recognition Award for his many, many years of committed service to this department. Mr. Kerley is a prime example of the quality of our employees here at the county. His leadership, mentorship, and dedication will be sorely, sorely missed. On behalf of the Kern County Board of Supervisors, I would like to thank Mr. Lamar Kerley for his tireless work, effort, and his commitment to serving Kern County. Chairman and members of the board, I am happy to introduce to you Director of Behavioral Health and Recovery Services, Mr. Bill Walker, to say a few words. Mr. Bill Walker.
Okay. Thank you, Supervisor. I'm joined, of course, with the Supervisor, Lamar Kerley, his mother, Georgianne. His father, Dewan, is at home, but will be with us tomorrow night when we celebrate again. And one of our other deputies, Dr. Brad Cloud. The accolades that were read about Lamar are really stunning when they talk about all the work he's done and the variety of systems he's worked in. He's worked with the toughest populations and the most technical jobs that we have in our department. And I'm not going to overstate what the supervisor just said, but it's really phenomenal what he's done. And so instead, I think I'm going to sum up just one issue about Lamar and then turn it over to him to go ahead and speak to the board. And I read a book, and in the book, a retired Army Ranger was training high school students who wanted to go into special forces when they got older. And of course, he was training them on all kinds of things to do physically. But he told them something that really epitomizes the way Lamar is. He said, whatever is asked of you, no matter how subtle or seemingly insignificant, do it to the best of your ability. And that really sums up Lamar Kerley. And as someone who's worked with him for those entire 32 years in one capacity or another, he's always somebody I could rely on, always someone I could trust in, and I could walk away knowing that he would do whatever it was we needed to get done to the best of his ability. He is a good man. He is a good person. He was a good supervisor. He was a good administrator, and he currently is a good deputy director. But most of all, he's a good friend. And so, my friend, I wish you the best.
Thank you, Chairman Maggard, Supervisors, Supervisor Perez. I'd like to read a quote. Mahatma Gandhi said, "A nation's greatness is measured by how it treats its weakest members." I've worked my whole life in the helping field with brain-damaged adults, those stricken by poverty, with the developmentally delayed children, with substance use disorders, and with mental illness. And yet I'm the one who's been blessed to have great work and challenging work and wonderful coworkers. I appreciate all these nice things you said about me. Yet truthfully, I've only been able to excel and to do good work because I had passionate, hardworking staff who worked for me all these years. The line staff of the county are the greatest asset the county has, and you all know that. I've been proud to have done this work for many years and proud that I had a wonderful mother, Georgianne Kerley, who raised me so well. And I just want to urge you all to keep doing the good leadership and work you do that guides our county safely. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lamar. Congratulations on a good life.
Thank you. This
How many people,
resolution-
after retiring after 32 years, get to have their mom stand with them? That's pretty cool.
Very good point. Keeps you young. Congrats.
Thank you.
Congratulations. We're next going to hear from Supervisor Scrivener as we proclaim March 2018 as March for Meals Month in Kern County. Supervisor Scrivener?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Motion on proclamation.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Supervisor. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved, all ayes.
Well, good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I have with me several folks, but I'd like to introduce Lita Murillo. He is our Director of Aging and Adult Services, and I'll be presenting this proclamation to him. To help ensure America's senior citizens were properly nourished, President Richard Nixon on March 22, 1972, signed into law a measure that amended the Older Americans Act of 1965 that established a national nutrition program for seniors 60 years and older, and thus was born the Meals on Wheels program. Meals on Wheels America established the National March for Meals campaign in March 2002 to recognize the importance of Older Americans Act nutrition programs and to raise awareness about the escalating problem of senior hunger in America. With an average life expectancy nearing 80, living longer means more years spent in the struggles that accompany old age. An estimated 10.2 million seniors in America face the threat of hunger. More than 15 million seniors in America are isolated and live alone, and more than 18 million seniors in America have difficulty paying for basic needs. The Meals on Wheels program provides nutritious meals to seniors, helping them maintain their health and independence and avoid unnecessary hospitalizations and/or premature institutionalization. Meals on Wheels decreases the rate of falls, which costs our nation $34 billion each year. In Kern County, the Aging and Adult Services Department, along with its partners in North of the River Recreation and Parks District, the Bakersfield Senior Center, served more than 343,000 meals to seniors in 2017. So it's my privilege on behalf of the board to present this proclamation. I'll present it to Mr. Murillo. And this reads, the Board of Supervisors, County of Kern, State of California, has officially proclaimed March 2018 as March for Meals Month in Kern County, and this recognition has been entered into our official minutes and signed by our Honorable Chairman, Mike Maggard. Lito? Thank you. It's all yours.
Thank you for this proclamation. Good morning, members of the board, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate this and your continued support. Throughout the years, you guys have all volunteered your time and effort to support senior nutrition, either by delivering meals, preparing meals, and I continue to support that, and I appreciate that altogether. I'm joined here today by Desiree Engels, who's our North of the River contracted provider, Michelle Gomez, who's the program director over your county nutrition program, Luann Jones and Christian Bernard, who is your senior nutrition coordinators handling the day-to-day operations of the nutrition program. So Meals on Wheels has been in Kern County since the early 70s. It's a program that many of our seniors have come to rely on. There's definitely a rapport that's built between the seniors and the delivery drivers. It's amazing how the seniors look forward to meeting with our delivery drivers on a daily basis. Of the 343,000 meals that Supervisor Scrivener said we served last year, 2/3 of that goes to our Meals on Wheels clients. A lot of them are homebound, can't leave their home and under doctor's care. As your senior population continues to grow, this essential service will become more essential to maintaining their independence and safety. I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank our contracted providers who without them we couldn't provide this service in Kern County. And I'd like to thank our nutrition staff, your nutrition staff at Aging Adult Services for all their hard work. They couldn't be here today because they're preparing meals and delivering the meals that we're talking about. Now I'd like to turn it over to Michelle Gomez, who'd like to talk a little bit more about the nutrition program.
Good morning, members of the board and Mr. Chairman. March for Meals is a national campaign created to recognize the efforts of the local Meals on Wheels providers and increases awareness for the local nutrition program as a whole. It is also designed to encourage people in the community to volunteer, whether that is preparing the meals, serving the meals, or delivering the meals to frail and homebound seniors. Volunteering for Meals on Wheels is a great way to make a huge impact in a short amount of time. By delivering meals, you bring nutritious food and a friendly visit to the seniors in your community. The nutrition program is an essential part of the seniors' lives. The dedicated staff and volunteers who deliver these meals each week provide a vital lifeline and connection to the community, which are sometimes all our senior neighbors at home where they want to be. For some, it's the only meal they will receive for the day. It allows the senior to remain healthy and independent in their home, avoiding trips to the emergency rooms and hospitalizations. One important value of the Meals on Wheels program is the rapport that develops between the senior and the driver, which is essential. For many seniors, the trusted Meals on Wheels driver or volunteer staff member who shows up each day with a hot meal and a warm smile is the only person they will speak to with all day. This special delivery is the reason to get up in the morning, something to look forward to, and a reminder to take good care of themselves. Seniors who go into the Senior Center for meals also receive valuable social interaction and companionships. All of us can attest that a meal can be much more than food on the plate, but also the company across the table. At the core of the Meals on Wheels service is companionship and a watchful eye on the health and safety of our seniors. The safety check that accompanies each meal delivery helps to reduce falls, trips to the hospital, or premature institutionalization. It also ensures that in the case of an emergency or problem, medics will be called, families will be notified, and our seniors will not be forgotten. In Kern, we operate 17 senior centers, and we run 6 production kitchens. We serve 1,400 seniors daily, and over 343 meals were served last year. The Senior Nutrition Program could not have done all of this without our partners. We need to thank all the dedicated nutrition staff who prepares and delivers the meal, the numerous volunteers throughout the community who help by preparing, packing, serving, and delivering the meals. We would not be able to afford to provide these services without all the volunteers. The volunteers, staff, and our partners through Meals on Wheels is making our community stronger, safer, and more self-sufficient. At this time, I'd like to show a short video on March for Meals.
Join Meals on Wheels in the annual March for Meals to celebrate the seniors in our communities and the ways we can all support them. All across the country, communities will join together to take a stand for the millions of seniors struggling with hunger and isolation. Meals on Wheels is a proven collaboration of local community organizations, businesses, all levels of government, and more than 2 million dedicated volunteers. Together, we deliver the nutritious meals, friendly visits, and safety checks that are often all it takes for our seniors to remain in their own homes where they want to be. And by doing so, we save billions of dollars in nursing facilities, hospitals, and healthcare costs. So join the march. Celebrate March for Meals in your own way. Donate what you can. Hold a fundraising event so others can give. Speak out to elected officials. Or join the dedicated army of volunteers who are committed to making sure that our senior neighbors are not forgotten. March with us.
Thank you.
Squeeze it in a bit. Come on, squeeze on in. There we go.
Thought it was like pulling teeth to get you guys to take that photograph. I'm going to make a presentation next to a certificate of recognition to Lifehouse Church and Oildale Community Action Team for their great work in our community, so I'll come down and do that.
Motion on presentation? You don't need, okay. Second. Good job. We're ready to go.
If there's anything that I aspire to when talking to people in neighborhoods and a group that I met with out in Oildale last night, if there's anything I aspire to cause to be birthed in the hearts of those I represent, it's the conviction that they can make a difference in the neighborhood they live in, that neighborhood belongs to them. They don't have to tolerate whatever it is that's bad for their neighborhood. They can change it. And I like to recognize people who do that. I call them neighborhood heroes, and today representing many neighborhood heroes is Dave Cadell, who is the associate pastor at Lifehouse Church. Come on up, Dave. Thank you for what you do in our community. Thank you. There is a group that was formed. The idea, actually, the seminal idea came from Pastor Richard Hill with the Bakersfield Family Church, and his vision was that he wanted to get other churches in Oildale to help come together. At Bakersfield Family Church, Lifehouse Church, and Olive Knolls Church volunteered to each take a portion of Oildale and every 3 months go out and clean that up, pick up large items that are there. Others have joined them in the effort, and I want to recognize that a couple Saturdays ago on February the 10th, an event that was hosted by a Lifehouse Church, the Oildale Community Action Team, that's called the OCAT in Oildale, the Junior OCAT team, which are young people that do the same thing, Keepers of the Cross, Operation Soul Winner, and a representative from Kern Health Systems, and the Oildale Prevention Partnership came together. The county roads department provided some dump trucks, and in some neighborhoods they spread out in Oildale as they do on a regular basis, and just make a difference. That they are exemplifying to our community that these neighborhoods are ours and we can do something about them. We can change them. So I want to present this to Dave Cadell, who is the associate pastor with Lifehouse Church. Dave is just a former county employee who is just has a servant's heart, and he demonstrates that regularly as he is there. So this is presented to Lifehouse Church. I have another one that's for Donna Clopton that I would ask you to give her. She is one of the founders and leaders of Oildale Community Action Team. But this is a certificate recognition presented to Lifehouse Church and recognition and appreciation for your Oildale community improvements and service, for exemplary public service, and for civic contribution to the community and to Kern County. Thank you for what you do. Thank you. Please thank all those who you represent this morning, and we'd love to hear just a couple of your words about how people can make a difference in their community and what you guys are up to.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you. Well, thank you so much for the opportunity to represent the many, many people who are active in Oildale. And one of the things that we've had many conversations about is, what does Oildale lack? Well, Oildale lacks many things, but the main thing that Oildale lacks is hope. And through the involvement of the many groups that are in Oildale, we're trying to come together and find the common ground where we can see that we can accomplish so much more together than we could ever accomplish alone. And so we are working toward that end, and there are many events, many things that are happening. There are many ministries, both recognized nonprofits and those that are not recognized nonprofits, that are actually doing things in Oildale. And so we just come together trying to be the kind of the nameless, faceless group that just goes out and does stuff. And that's what we want to do. And we want to just like I was telling Supervisor Maggard last night, we're going to kick, claw, and claw our way through the mud to whatever we have to do to redeem Oildale, to restore hope in Oildale. That's the mantra of the organizations in Oildale, is restoring hope, and that's what we need to do. But there's many things that have to happen with that, and one of the things that comes to mind, there's Dan Gable, who was an Olympic wrestler, Olympic champion, said about wrestling that in the first period, it's the guy with the best technique that wins. Mm-hmm. The second period is the guy that has the best conditioning. And the third period is the guy that just won't give up. And I'd like to believe that we're the ones that will not give up. Mm-hmm. that we are going to continue to do the work. We're going to continue to sing the songs of the hearts of those who have forgotten, and restore hope to Oildale. That's the main thing for us.
We will not give up, and we will never quit.
That's right.
Let's take a
Thank you
picture
so
together.
much.
You're welcome. Turn there, okay?
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Supervisor Couch will make the next presentation.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, it is my pleasure to present this certificate of recognition today. I'm going to present it to Bruce Wade. He's the president of the Bakersfield Master Chorale, and they have been performing Handel's Messiah for 85 years. And it's a while to get around to recognizing people that do something for a while, but we're doing it today. So I'll read the certificate of recognition and turn it over to Bruce and let him tell you about that. I believe you just performed it a few days ago, correct? Yes. Okay. This certificate of recognition presented to the Bakersfield Master Chorale is in recognition and congratulations on 85 years of bringing Handel's Messiah to Bakersfield and for exemplary public service and civic contributions to the community and to Kern County. It's signed by all the members of the Board of Supervisors, dated today, February 27th. Bruce, thank you for what you do and for what you've done, and why don't you just accept this and tell us if you think you'd like to.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Couch, Chairman Maggard, supervisors. I want to thank you all for this certificate of recognition for 85 years of enriching Kern County with choral music. 85 years ago, Leroy Gates, the choral director at First Baptist, formed what he called the Messiah Chorus to perform the Messiah each year. And as Supervisor Couch pointed out, the chorale has done so every year for 85 years, including those years when it was difficult to find men to sing those tenor and bass parts. In the 60s, under the direction of Phil Dodson, many of you may know, the chorale expanded its repertoire, moved towards becoming a true community choir. And in the early 90s, the chorale fulfilled that and became a community choir by forming its own independent board and with its own funding. This has allowed the chorale to do more than just the Messiah concert, to enrich Kern County by a concert season of 5 choral concerts, including an annual major choral work with the Bakersfield Symphony Orchestra. We support a young artist development program in which we give students who have devoted their careers and lives to music an opportunity to develop artistically and professionally. We participated in the Sister City program by hosting a concert with the Busan City Community Choir from our sister city, Busan, South Korea. And I apologize to the Koreans in the audience, or the Korean Americans in the audience, for that poor pronunciation. We've also toured Europe on several occasions, and also toured areas of the United States, including most recently Washington, D.C., which included, not in Washington, D.C., but in Rome, it included a concert at the St. Peter's Basilica and other great European churches. And finally, we still find time every single year to perform Handel's Messiah, as we did last Saturday with a generous underwriting grant from the Robert Grimm Family Foundation. With the warm support of our donors, we will continue to enrich Kern County with choral music through our centennial and for years to come. Thank you very much for this recognition.
Thank you.
Hey, you.
Thank you for what you do in our community, and we appreciate the addition you make to the quality of life here. Thank you, Supervisor Couch. We next are going to hear from the public. We always offer an opportunity to the public to come before us on that when we meet to present to us any ideas they have or concerns they have about anything that is not otherwise on our agenda for the day. So we offer an opportunity for people to speak for 2 minutes about each of those items. So is there somebody here this morning who would like to make comment? Please come forward. And can you give us your name before you begin your comments?
Sure. My name is Nick Cott. That's NickKott.
Cott. Mr. Cott, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Nick Cott. Obviously, I'm a systems analyst for the Auditor Controller. And excuse my nerves, I don't usually do this very often. So, from what I understand, the county was sued for disenfranchising the Latino population of Kern County by gerrymandering the districts. The court found that the districts were drawn in such a manner as to illegally disenfranchise the Latino population. The county is now going to spend a large sum of money to appeal this decision, money which could have gone to benefit the tax-paying citizen by providing funding for essential services, is instead being used to delay a ruling which could affect the upcoming election and will provide no apparent benefit to the community. All of this would already be inexcusable, but it is a travesty when the phrase fiscal crisis is tossed about in order to push through an agenda of austerity at the expense of the community. I would ask the board for justification for the appeal and to identify who is responsible for the decision to appeal. Thank you.
Anyone else? Good morning.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors and Board Chairman. My name is Bernice Bonillas. I guess I'm currently the local president of the California Alliance for Retired Americans. But on this issue, he spoke very well on it. That's basically the same thing that I was going to say. But I've been following every time you do the census, the reapportionment, every 10 years, I guess. And we always follow the meetings that the Board of Supervisors holds at the community, all the towns in Kern County, to get input from them. And we're always there trying on this same issue where Delano, McFarland, Shafter, Wasco, they're all included in the district with Ridgecrest, which to me, they have nothing in common. And we've been trying to make that change every time you have those hearings, but never has it become a reality. So we're asking again, I believe the lawsuit that the judge ruled in favor of MALDEF, that it has cost the county, maybe I'm wrong, close to $1 million already, or very close to that. And then I know when I attended the budget hearings both days here till evening, and everybody was asking for the public services funds, and there was nothing for any of them. I remember specifically the one in Delano where there was a road that is not a road, but there's residences there right next to the prison. And I think they were turned down. I'm not sure. Maybe you finally got some money for that. But it seems kind of not very smart to, you lost this one, and I'm sure you'll lose the next one also. Why are we wasting that kind of money when we need so many funds for the public services that people come here at the budget hearings and ask, and they're turned down? So hopefully, I don't know if you're going to have those meetings again in the communities to discuss this and have input from them. But I know last night I called previous city councilman in Delano, John Munoz, and he also attended all those hearings that I went to, 10 years, 20 years ago, and here we go again, and still nothing's been done. So hopefully you'll consider...
Ms. Bonilla, your time is concluded.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak to us this morning? Good morning, sir.
Good morning. My name is Johnny Munoz, and I live in Delano, California. And, Mr. Stevenson has been doing a good job for us down there. This nothing against him. We have been fighting for reapportionment since the 1980s. When I arrived in this county, I think now it's time. because of the court. I don't understand why the county has to spend, buku bucks on fighting something that is just. We're not taking anything away from anybody. We're not taking the supervisor out of office and all that. All we're saying, common interest. There's no common interest between Ridgecrest and Delano and his surroundings. Okay, nothing in common. Ridgecrest has high tech and military, experimenting with munitions. Delano has, Delano, Taft, McFarland, Wasco, Shafter, we have agriculture and we have corrections. With that in mind, it sounds so simple. Instead of spending all those monies in those lawsuits, and using taxpayers' money, use that taxpayers' money and give it to the employees. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Supervisors. My name is Yolanda Chacon, and I am a resident. I own a property in Delano, California, and I have generations of family and friends who also live there. And on the recent judgment, I would like to ask all of you to understand that we have waited very long to have representation from our own communities, and we would like your fiduciary responsibility in not fighting this anymore and having immediate implementation. The judgment has been made, and we would like to see money going into services for our communities and not fighting something that's for our interests in the small farming communities of Shafter, Wasco, McFarland, and Delano. So we respectfully request that you consider immediate implementation. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Dorothy Velasquez, and I am a resident of Delano, California. I'm also a plaintiff in the lawsuit against Kern County Board of Supervisors that successfully challenged the current Board of Supervisors map drawn in 2011 because it dilutes the Latino vote. The federal court confirmed what the Latino community has known for years, that the current Board of Supervisors plan is illegal and discriminates against the Latino voters. There have already been 3 illegal elections under this current map. We should not allow a 4th illegal election in 2018 using the illegal map. The Board of Supervisors has shown that they can draw a map in a day. The board could adopt one of many maps proposed by plaintiffs during and right after the trial. The court found at least 2 plans proposed by plaintiffs during the case encompass communities of interest and comport with traditional redistricting. In fact, the court found that the communities in these maps were better connected than the communities in the current map. If the county can't implement a new plan by June, then the county should postpone the election until November. If the county chooses to continue fighting, they will inevitably lose and will end up spending millions. They have already spent untold amounts of taxpayers' money to the law firm that unsuccessfully defended the lawsuit. And they are no doubt going to have to pay plaintiffs' counsel a number in the millions. They need to accept the result. The court made specific detailed findings that will not be reversed on appeal. Not one dime should be spent defending a plan that hurts Latino voters.
Ms. Velasquez, your time has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Camila Chavez. I'm the Executive Director of the Dolores Huerta Foundation. On behalf of our President, Dolores Huerta, and the Foundation, our members, we are here to ask you to do the right thing by creating maps and implementing new district elections by June 2018 to ensure equal participation for Latino voters as mandated by Judge Drazen. There have been rumors that members of this board hope to appeal or postpone this process. We hope those rumors are not true, and we're here to let you know that if so, that is unacceptable. How much money has been spent? Several speakers have already talked about the funds that have been spent. How much money has been spent? The taxpayers need to know. We ask that you immediately stop wasting taxpayers' money by postponing this process. Your community, our community, is in need of these funds. We have much needed infrastructure improvements, libraries with limited hours, and county workers that haven't been able to get a decent wage increase due to lack of money. As taxpayers, we demand that the funding be used on the above-mentioned needs instead of lawsuits. We actually know, it's already been said, that maps can be made in a day, and our small GIS team also made maps with voter numbers, and we'd like to hand this over to the clerk for your information. We have 3 copies. It's not rocket science to make this happen. Representation delayed is representation denied. Justice delayed is justice denied. I would like to ask the members of the audience who are in favor of these comments to please stand to show your support. Thank you.
Who would be next?
Good morning, Supervisor Maggard, supervisors. My name is Emilio Huerta, former resident of Delano, longtime resident of Kern County, and I also want to encourage this body to not appeal the court's decision issued on February 13th. The U.S. District Court found, a federal district court found, that Latino voters in Kern County have been deprived of an equal opportunity to elect representatives of their own choice in violation of the Federal Voting Rights Act. That's a quote from the court decision. This means that the Kern County Board of Supervisors, our elected representatives, have perpetuated a scheme of racially polarizing voters in voting so as to undermine and deprive residents of northern Kern County in communities such as Delano, McFarland, Shafter, and Wasco of their right to be represented at this governing body, to have a seat at this table. A federal court has found that the county where I have chosen to live, where my friends and my family have chosen to invest so much of their time and resources to improve the lives of low-income families in this community, and every resident in the county has engaged in intentionally racist practices. I am embarrassed and I am ashamed, as well as you should be. As far back as 2011, the Kern County Board of Supervisors knew that supervisorial voting lines were being drawn in such a way as to undermine the voting strength of minority voters in northern Kern County. I don't know if you had the opportunity to read the court's 70-page decision, but I did. And I direct your attention to pages 37 and 38, where your own expert witness has arrived at the same conclusion. As a lawyer, I know that's probably the most damaging evidence, your own evidence that's used against you. We, as taxpaying citizens of Kern County, are now on the hook for possibly millions of dollars in legal fees to defend illegal practices. Rather than recklessly spending more money of our hard-earned taxpayer dollars in appealing the court's decision and allowing such racial discriminatory policies to continue, I urge you to accept the court's decision and meet with residents of northern Kern County.
Mr. Huerta, your time has expired.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Janae Benton, Janeabenton. Chairman and members of the board, my name is Janae and I am the district director for Assemblymember Rudy Salas. While the Assemblymember cannot be at this session today, he asked me to read to you the following statement. Complying with the Voting Rights Act is paramount to the health of democracy and civic engagement. It is incumbent on elected officials to move towards districts that reflect the populations within the county to achieve equal representation. The 2010 census numbers released March 8, 2010, indicated that the county has experienced a population increase of approximately 178,000 residents from 2000 to 2010. This population increase did not occur evenly across all 5 Kern County districts and is currently not reflected in the board districts. Keeping communities of interest together that share common social and economic interest is paramount for fair and equal representation. This is more than a moral imperative. It is a right protected by the California Constitution, and Assemblymember Salas wants to help the Board of Supervisors and all stakeholders uphold these constitutional rights to ensure that all communities in Kern County are represented, and will look into statutory authority to do so. Assemblymember Salas wanted me to express his concern on this matter and offers assistance to balance and ensure that all voices throughout the county have representation they deserve. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Mary Helen Barrow, and I live at 201 Jefferson Street here in Bakersfield, California. And I've lived here for over 35 years. And I supported the efforts of the Dolores Huerta Foundation in this legal matter. I urge you not to continue to waste taxpayer dollars on any efforts to fight this decision. We're already strapped for cash for a lot of important things that need to be done in the county. But more importantly, it is incumbent upon you who have sworn to uphold the Constitution and the civil rights and the legal rights of the constituents and the voters of Kern County. If you pursue your efforts to appeal the court's decision, you will be violating that trust and that responsibility. Don't fight the lawsuit and move quickly, as I know you can, because it's all there in the computers and in the maps that have been presented. Implement the court's decision. Do the right thing, not only for yourselves, but for the voters and all of the residents of Kern County. Thank you very much.
Is this our last speaker?
No.
If you're going to speak, please come down.
Good morning. My name's Francisco Martinez. I'm just going to read off a email I sent to Jim Garrett. He's a social justice ministry at the Diocese of Fresno. I am a parishioner at St. Joseph's Roman Catholic Church in Bakersfield. I am also a community leader in Faith in Kern and also a board member in Faith in the Valley. I am also the Kern County local representative for SEIU 521 Committee on Political Education. Please read the following articles from the Bakersfield, California that I've sent to you. I urge the Diocese of Fresno to take a position on this crucial matter that will affect the Catholic communities in Kern County. I am just learning that the Kern County Board of Supervisors is considering wasting millions of dollars again in appealing a federal court decision ordering the Board of Supervisors to redraw its political lines, all in the name of keeping the Latino population in northern Kern County diluted and divided. I am very concerned that the Board of Supervisors will vote today to continue with an appeal and fight against the federal court ruling to restrict the two current Board of Supervisors. I am very concerned that if the Board of Supervisors votes today to appeal this ruling on such short notice without any public input or public hearing, this can only be interpreted as an attempt to quash any public dissent so that the two of the Board of Supervisors who are running for re-election can tell their base, see, we re-elect me again and I'll keep the status quo. Please, I'm asking the Diocese of Fresno to take a position in favor of this recent court ruling. And I just end with thank you and God bless.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Supervisors. I'm John Sabovich. I'm the founder and CEO of the Epiphany Foundation. We opened a sober living facility in Lamont that is rather different from that of the norm. A few weeks ago, community members stood before this board objecting to such a facility. And I believe that the residents of the community were objecting simply because of a lack of knowledge. We've done everything to meet all county and state codes, which we've successfully done, and staff has investigated to confirm the same. And we're open for business at this time. I would like to, to the clerk, I'm going to leave some brochures so that the supervisors may be better informed as to what we really do. But we're a different kind of facility that treat those with drug and alcohol dependencies and have serious problems. And I'd venture to say that there's hardly anybody in this room who has not been personally affected by friend, family member, or close associate that's had a severe drug and alcohol problem. We're quite proud of the program that we've put together, spending the past year in the development of it, and most recently, the evidence that it works is that we're closely modeled after the most successful, arguably the most successful program in the country, Delancey Street, based in San Francisco, that has an excess of a 90% success rate. The evidence of this is in my administrator, who recently joined, Melody Everest, who stood, and after suffering for most of her life and in and out of jail and prison for 18 years, being all tacked out and everything, she's living and walking testimony that it works. It was a voluntary program to go into Delancey Street, 2 years, and she elected to go 5 on it.
Mr. Savovich, your time has expired.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. You're welcome. Good morning. My name is Melody Everest, and as John mentioned, I had many years of drug use, about 20, maybe more, 18 years of going in and out of prison. And at the time of my, basically, I was at a point in my life where I knew I had to do something different. And so I had heard about Delancey Street. In the 90s, there really weren't any programs here in the county available. So I had heard a lot of bad things about Delancey Street, but I also heard a lot of good things about it. And once I got into the program, he mentioned the tattoos. Well, you know, at 38, I looked at myself in the mirror and I said, I'm 38, I have tattoos on my face, my neck, my arms, you know, what are my choices here, right? So I had to either change or continue the life that I'd been living the last 18 years, which wasn't an option for me. So I went into Delancey Street. I spent the 3 years of the 5 years getting my tattoos removed, and I did a pretty good job. And, you know, the reason that I support John's program so much is that while in Delancey Street, I learned not only job skills, but the importance of integrity, honesty, willingness to learn, and family. And I have to give it to individuals like John, who have the drive and vision to create programs where individuals like me can change their lives. I have spent my working career in the substance abuse field, and I have seen a need for programs such as the Epiphany Foundation in our community today. So much so I quit my job of 11 years to work for him, so I'll tell you something. So I'd just like to thank you so much for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you. I think Supervisor Perez would like to make a comment.
Thank you, Chairman. John, I know we've been working together with you with this project, and we are moving along and have every intention of continuing to bridge the gap between the community members who have legitimate concerns and to which this operation is very new for them. I think we can really make progress by conveying the successes of the young woman here. Congratulations to you. Very proud of you. Very familiar with Delancey Street. I sit on the prison board with the founder of Delancey Street, and quite possibly best program in the country, certainly California. So anything you can do to model such a program here would be remarkable. Its emphasis on getting folks to work and job skills is profoundly important. But if you could head up to my office again, I know you've been there many times and you're very passionate and very diligent, which I appreciate. But I just want you to know we are working on the matter. I do think it's important to address the community's legitimate concerns. That's real. That's not new for you. Certainly, you understand the fear and many misconceptions that we need to work very hard to address and to build trust with the community. So if you could please head back to up to my office. My staff's waiting for you. They know you very well. And again, appreciate your passion. And to you, hats off to you. Congrats. And I know you're going to continue to do great work, in particular helping others, which there isn't anything greater than. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, and I just have to say that I'm incredibly proud of Melody, and I truly use her as the model and the inspiration to be able to show others that this is what can be done. You don't have to live that life. And I really believe that we have a model that can be implemented on a county-wide basis, even a statewide basis, because as you correctly said, Delancey is the most successful operation in the country. They have a little bit of a difficulty in duplicating that on it. We've spent a lot of time on
I don't mean to be rude.
Oh, excuse me.
I'm extending the graciousness the chairman gave me. So if you can head to my office, we'll continue working with you. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who'd like to speak this morning?
Yes, good morning. My name is Lupe Martinez. I live in Delano and been in Kern County practically all my life. And I'm with Center on Race, Poverty, and the Environment. I'm the Assistant Director. And I want to urge this board to consider not squandering our money, our tax money, in the redistricting or appealing the decision that the judge has done. Our communities have been impacted for a long, long time, where we seem to be the forgotten voices. I think it's time, and it's time now for this board to do the right thing. We feel that there's a lot of delays that have taken place, a lot of colonias who don't have what they need and have always been surpassed, and the answer has always been there's no money. When we can look at Chapter, Wasco, Delano, and so many other communities within Kern County. I think it's time. I feel right now that if the board does squander our money, it's just in order to delay, and it's a delay tactic to get us past the 2020. Thank you.
Who would be next? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Sofia Garcia. I'm the GIS coordinator for the Dolores Huerta Foundation. I'm just here. I want to talk a little bit more and let the audience know the numbers that we gave you. So the numbers and the maps that were given to the Board of Supervisors illustrate that the map that we have drawn for District 1 and 5 show that the numbers for those districts are really high in Latino population. For the map that we have drawn for the year 2010 for the District 1, that total population is 183,695 total population. The Latino population of that area is 138,742. Which means that is 75.5% Latino. And for the other district that we have, District 5, it is 178,384 for the total population, and the Latino population is 134,362, which means that is a Latino percentage of 75.3, and that is numbers coming from 2010. We also have numbers for the board for 2014, 2015, and for 2016. And for 2016, the percentage goes up. For that District 1, we have the Latino population percentage-wise at 78.4%, and for that District 5, we have 79%. So this just illustrates that numbers don't lie. I know that you can, like my executive director said, that you can draw maps in a day. I draw lots of maps in a day. You can change the boundaries however you like, but when it comes to numbers, these are people, these are percentages, and these numbers just back up what everybody has said. And if, again, we gave you those maps, and my JS team would love to sit down with you guys if you would like, and we can explain them further and talk to you more about these numbers. Thank you.
Who would be next?
I love that I heard, oh no. Hello, my name is Julie Solis, Julie Solis. So I'm here today because we have no money for air quality, we have no money for our water, we have no money for our law enforcement cams. No money for education, no money for the homelessness. We have all these issues, valley fever awareness, 30% increase. We have no money, but for your racist agenda of dividing our people, we got endless amounts of money. Millions wasted on dividing and continuing to keep the divide in our people. You should be afraid that we get united, Gleason, because we will unseat you when we unite.
Miss Solis,
Mr. Maggard?
Miss Solis, I'm not, Miss
I'm
Solis.
reserving my time,
Miss
Mr.
Solis.
Maggard, because when we
Miss
unite,
Solis,
we
if
will
you don't
not
stop,
vote
I'm
for
going to have you removed from the room.
Mr. Scrivener,
Miss Solis.
you will not get voted when we are united. Mr. Couch, you also will be unseated. Your job is working for us, representing us in this divided. You guys are racist and that's not fair. Let me grab my bag over here. I'll get it. You don't touch my bag. Don't touch me. I'm walking. Shame on you all.
Go ahead.
Racism is ending. 28
No, 2 minutes, sir.
Shame on you all.
Good morning. My name is Jay Castellanos. I'd like to share this information to the public and make a request to Mr. Mark Nations. I'm the president of a medical marijuana cooperative, Green Coast Cooperative. We've been operating and registered with California Department of Food and Agriculture since March of 2010. We were the first registered in Kern County. Our cannabis businesses, including others, have a long history of Kern County supervisors. On March 31st, 2009, the supervisors passed the first medical marijuana ordinance 5.84, which detailed M1, M2 zoning. This was followed up by a moratorium imposed on August 24, 2010, of 30 businesses open and recognized by the county to continue operating and investing in their new startup business. I was one of them. This approval and ordinance allowed our business to operate and register with the state. Over 80 businesses opened up after August 24th. The lack of authority from Code of Compliance on keeping this moratorium imposed was negligence. This has started the primary nuisance and complaint from the county. With absence of code compliance, performance, and internal policies, the supervisors just try to do an outright ban. We, the people, stood up against the ban, got 27,000 signatures to do it. With the county loss of an outright ban, the supervisors schemed up the idea of creating a Measure G in 2012. This was to zone out business out of ordinance. And July 13, 2012, Kern County Compliance issued a Green Coast a 24-hour notice to shut down, which we will agree for myself, Green Coast, to suspend our business contingent on the Board of Supervisors to prove up their claim and how they came up with this law, when and what was the remedy if this applied to me. We requested our county to respond in a timely manner. In this part, this is part of the internal guidelines, county internal guidelines. We gave supervisors time and opportunity to reply. They defaulted. It took them 76 days to reply, which code compliance and performance could not prove up their claims. They defaulted to our terms. The only response that we received from the county was to disregard notice, and they will come up with a new shutdown order.
Mr. Castellanos, your time has expired.
You guys fined me $1,000.
You're welcome to hand in your...
Totaling around $680,000.
You're welcome, Mr. Castellanos, to turn your comments into the clerk.
We went to court over 20 times in this matter.
Please draw your... No, you do not, sir. You had 2 minutes. Mr. Castellanos, you can turn in your comments to the clerk if you like. Good morning. Could you give us your name for the record, please? You need to turn the microphone toward you, sir.
One moment, please.
Okay.
I just got a lot of paperwork up here.
That's all right. You can take a moment.
Do you want to submit what he...
I'm gonna use this as notes, and I'll turn it to you when I'm done, ma'am. Good morning. My name is...
Sir, yeah, there you go. There you go. What's your name?
Good morning. My name is Louis Santana. I'm the CEO of Green Coast Cooperative. That's protected under general corporation law pursuant of Section 54040 of the Food and Agriculture Code. that's been active since 2010 and approved by code compliance, and it's on the first list of shops. And we're one of the shops that was forced out by the County of Kern on a law that they came up that got overturned in court because they didn't do an environmental impact review. So the county forced my business out. I got my corporation license back active, and now you're saying that I'm not going to be on the list. You guys lost your credibility with these backroom deals. Obviously, Green Coast Cooperative is the first cooperative registered in Kern County, and you were suing my corporation for $680,000, and which the judge ruled what you guys did was unlawful. So I won. So thank God that we've already spoke to the chief director for the Bureau of Cannabis, and I told her our situation, and she specifically told me, you're in a different situation because you have a cooperative. You apply for a micro business license. And she says, I told her the situation, what happened with the county and all the corruption. She said there's a appeal board set up for this special situation because I'm protected under the General Corporation Code. So that's all I got to say. You guys are all crooked. Thank you.
I don't see anyone else, so we're going to conclude the public comment period. Mr. Nations, would you please make comment for us this morning with regard to the status of the lawsuit, the Waldeff lawsuit?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Voting Right Act lawsuits go in two phases. One, the court makes findings of fact and conclusions of law, and if he finds in favor of the plaintiff, then it moves into a remedial stage. And so what the court has done is they've issued an order indicating that a status conference with respect to scheduling the remedial stage of the litigation is set for March the 6th, 2018 at 3 o'clock. And so it is our intent to obviously participate in that hearing and find out how the court wants to proceed in this matter. It is premature to discuss an appeal because an appeal cannot be taken except from an order or a judgment, and neither of those have been entered as yet in this case. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nations. Okay, next on our agenda is an opportunity for board members to make announcements or give a report to the public. Is there any member of the board that would like to make a report or announcement? Okay, next then let's go on to item. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see that. Yes, Supervisor Perez.
Thank you, Chairman. I wanted to thank everybody who's come out today and expressed their incredible passion and care and concern for this great county. Thank you. You have been heard. I believe that my colleagues have listened to you. I know that our staff has, and they take everything that you say and all of your input very seriously. So thank you for your contributions, your love and devotion to this county. I have every confidence that we will resolve this matter swiftly and in a manner that is consistent with the law and with the incredible, remarkable, diverse nature of this county. Thank you.
Next is item number 12 on our agenda. It is a retroactive authorization to accept a grant from Petco Foundation. Mr. Cullen, who is our Director of Animal Services, is here this morning. Good morning, Mr. Cullen.
Good morning. Chairman Maggard, members of the board, Nick Cullen, your Department Head for Animal Services. The purpose of my request this morning is to seek retroactive authorization to apply for grant funding through the Petco Foundation, accept the grant funding from the Petco Foundation in the amount of $75,000 over 3 years for a total of $225,000, request board approval of the Petco Foundation grant investment agreement, including non-standard terms, and authorize the chairman to sign. In June of 2017, the Animal Services Department submitted a grant request to the Petco Foundation for $95,000 to cover the cost of enhancing the department's foster program. On February 8th of 2018, the department was notified that the grant had been approved for $75,000 for 3 years for a total of $225,000 for the purpose of enhancing all of the department's life-saving efforts. It is expected that the first $75,000 installment will be received by March 31st of 2018. As the Animal Services Department presses forward toward the goal of a no-kill shelter, one of the obstacles that needs addressing is a number of kittens who come into the shelter without a mother to care for them. Enhancing the foster care program to care for kittens who are unable to live on their own without a mother is one of the most effective ways for the department to increase the number of live outcomes from the shelter. The grant investment agreement has been reviewed by County Council, who is not able to approve the agreement as to form because of indemnification, insurance, and confidentiality requirements. Council has also determined that the risk of liability from approving this agreement is low. The County Administrative Office is also in agreement with this action. Therefore, we do recommend that your board provide retroactive approval to apply for the grant funding from Petco Foundation, accept the grant funding from the Petco Foundation in the amount of $225,000, approve the grant investment agreement, including non-standard terms, and authorize the chairman to sign. And I can answer any questions about this grant.
Thank you, Mr. Cullen, for your leadership in this. It is remarkable to see that our hopes for a greater, broader participation by the public and other sources of funding outside of county government would come into play, and they have. We're grateful for that. Mr. Nations, do you concur with his synopsis of your opinion that the risk is low from this concern you had as to the form of the agreement?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Are there any members of the public that would like to make comment this morning about this item before we proceed? Are there members of the board there that would like to make comment or make a motion?
Just make a motion for approval. Mr. Cullen, congratulations to you and your staff for your continued great progress that you're making. And it's important that we continue to go out and find other sources of funding, and you've done a marvelous job at that. So much thanks and congratulations. Motion to approve.
Thank you, Supervisor Scribner. Supervisor Perez.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll be brief. I was at the Ben Austin Senior Center yesterday, and we talked about a project we're envisioning on Baker Street Village, that would include a whole host of opportunities for our homeless population, in particular those at the Mission. And there was more than one person in the crowd, senior citizens, of course, very passionate about working to bring veterinarians into the area so they can care for the animals of homeless people that we know are like family. And so it was striking to me, the excitement, the interest. It was really significant. It was palpable. And I thought, what a great opportunity, to our chairman's point, to utilize private resources, the passion and time of folks. We know that many are retired and would like to participate in that. But, the animal welfare continues to be first and foremost on the hearts and minds of people in Kern County. We love our animals, as we should. Thank you for your perfect and timely leadership on this. But I want to talk to you about that because I think there's a lot of synergy there. So congrats and thank you for your hard work.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any other comment?
Yeah.
Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you, Nick, for your great leadership.
Thank you.
Next is item number 24, which is a fiscal year 2018-19 budget development report to be presented by the CEO's office. Mr. Alsop.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Members of the board, good morning. We're beginning, as you know, the annual budget planning process for fiscal year 18-19, and today we are presenting our budget development report and proposed contribution guidelines for departments that take general fund money, as well as the fire fund. I want to first, before getting into a few comments, thank our assistant CAO, Nancy Lawson, and her entire budget team, led by Elsa Martinez, for the great work they continue to do in putting together the county's budget. The preliminary projected budget deficit in the general fund for 2018-19 is $12.6 million. To date, nearly 3/4 of the county's general fund structural deficit has been resolved. Anticipated use of county reserves to address the deficit has also declined by $12 million. We are making clear progress toward fiscal stability in the county's general fund. We are proposing a 2.5% reduction in NGFC, net general fund contribution allocations to departments in FY 18-19, which is 1% less than anticipated at this time last year. While progress is being made in addressing the fiscal crisis in the general fund, the opposite is happening in the fire fund, unfortunately. The fire fund continues to be a significant drain on the general fund, an extraordinary burden on other general fund departments, and an impediment to delivering cost of living adjustments to county employees. We project a $10 million deficit in the fire fund, which is $1.5 million more than last fiscal year. That number will likely change at year's end when we take account for money. I know the fire department is expecting money from the state although we don't have an idea of what that money is at this time. So at this point in time, $10 million deficit is the projection from your CAO budget staff. While property tax revenue increases since 16-17 have helped take fire's budget deficit from $17.5 million down to a projected 10, significant pension cost increases and minimal ongoing reductions in expenses slow fiscal recovery. Fire Department's FY 2018-19 budget will require at least a $6 million contribution from county reserves for pension cost escalation this next fiscal year. This contribution to fire from county reserves will continue and grow unless the structural problem is resolved. Fire's $10 million projected budget deficit now equates to nearly 45% of the county's total structural deficit of $22.6 million. With that, I'll hand things over to Assistant CAO Lawson.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. As Mr. Alsop mentioned, the General Fund Fiscal Mitigation Plan is working well with lower anticipated reductions and less use of reserves. In the third year of the plan, the deficit is 72% resolved at $12.6 million. A net general fund cost reduction of 2.5% or $6.5 million is recommended to resolve a little more than half of the remaining balance. Helping to mitigate some of the county's deficit is a projected increase of total assessed value for next fiscal year of at least 3%. The spot price for oil was $63 per barrel at January 1st, which is $13 more than last fiscal year. It's interesting to note that most of the property assessed value increase, however, was primarily related to residential, commercial, and ag properties, which helps diversify the collections. While revenue is increasing by a net of nearly $6 million, cost increases are once again a challenge. The retirement cost for safety members is increasing by 3.97% to a total rate of 81.64% of salaries, contributing to $4 million in costs for the Sheriff's Office and Probation Department combined. The Fire Fund is also impacted by this increase in the amount of $2.1 million annually. Additionally, the second year of the phase-in of in-home support services redirected costs from the state is impacting the general fund by up to $2 million, and costs for mental health care with the opening of the new jail facility is expected to be $1 million more than anticipated. Reserves are currently totaling $163 million. It is expected that at least $10 million will be released from the designation for retirement to cover pension escalations for the safety departments. We also wanted to let you know that with major appeals settled for several oil and gas properties, we are reallocating a release of the tax litigation reserve to most of the EOAs, or economic opportunity areas. These include Renewbiz, Lost Hills, West Stars, and Oildale to be restored after being suspended last fiscal year. This transfer is only between reserves and does not impact resources for general fund operations. We look at this guideline as a starting point to the budget development process. There are many uncertainties that will be better known toward the end of the fiscal year, such as the final fund balance carry forward and final property tax assessment roll. We believe that it is imperative that the county continue to follow the mitigation plan to achieve fiscal stability. Departments will submit their budgets with justification by April 16th. We have also asked that they submit a step-down plan above and beyond the 2.5% for an additional 5%. We will be providing your board with the preliminary recommended budget on June 26th. This will be the first of 4 more budget priority discussions that will end with the budget hearings to be held on August 28th. That concludes my comments, and I believe that Mr. Alsop has a few closing remarks. The recommended action for this item is to approve the 1819 NGOC guideline.
Mr. Alsop.
Thank you. And in closing, I was hoping our clerk could pull up and if you would, could you back out just a little bit? There's a little bit at the bottom I want to make sure that is captured. There you go. Perfect. Okay. I know that's tough for the audience to see and hopefully not for the home audience, but this graph I thought was important given my comments on fire. I wanted to show you that the revenue that is given to our fire department, and it shows revenue given to the fire department from 2014-15 fiscal year all the way through next fiscal year, which is 2018-19. The blue, if you go down all the way to the left of the chart, that graph, that bar is in blue is the property, base property tax revenue that is provided to fire. On top of that, the two-color bar that's split down the middle is representative of a change that was made by your board in 14-15, where you exchanged net general fund contribution to fire, which was historically what you did, or at least recent history. You exchanged it for a locked-in $18.4 million of property tax base. So what that means is right off the top of all of the property tax revenue that comes into the county, you provide $18.4 million to fire. And what this chart shows is from 14-15 all the way to next fiscal year 18-19, in orange, that property tax amount has stayed the same. It has not been cut, unlike other departments who are taking percentage reductions under your board's four-year mitigation plan every single year. Fire continues to get $18.4 million. What the yellow part shows is what they would have gotten if the change had not been made. And as you can see, as this chart illustrates, they are better off. The change was timely, given the change in the economy, the drop in revenues coming into the county as a whole, and they fare far better under the tax shift than they would have otherwise. I have one more graph to show you. This is a graph that shows our staff and the CEO, our budget staff's 5-year projection of the fire funds deficit. So from 18-19 all the way to fiscal year 22-23. In fiscal year 22-23, our staff is currently projecting that the fire fund will have a $7.35 million structural deficit if all things stay the same. Obviously, these projections will change, these numbers will change over time, but at this point in time, this is what we're projecting. In FY 18-19, that bar shows a total deficit in the fire fund of $10 million. The blue part of that bar is what we are anticipating kicking in for the fire fund due to their pension escalation this next fiscal year. So contribution from county general fund reserves of $6 million. That leaves about $4 million unmitigated and needed to close out their deficit, which will be the challenge in this immediate and upcoming fiscal year. FY 19-20, we're projecting a fire fund total deficit of $14.5 million. It's growing while the general fund projection, structural deficit in the general fund is projecting downward. Fire is growing. As you can see, our contribution out of county reserves, we're anticipating $8 million in FY 19. In FY 2021, we're anticipating $10.2 million out of county reserves. And in 2021, the drop is simply due to the end of our one-time phase-in to cover pension costs that we adopted last year, that your board adopted last year. And it shows the final $3.9 million contribution that your board committed to a couple of years ago, which leaves them essentially all on their own in 22-23 as things stand today with our numbers. So these are just the facts. Again, these numbers will change and hopefully they go down But at this point in time, based on what we know, that's a 5-year projection for your board to consider in the fire fund. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alsop. We have a question from Supervisor Scribner.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one question. That drop in the total deficit from fiscal year 21-22 to 22-23, when it goes from essentially 13 million down to 7.3, is that because of the pension obligation bond coming off of the books after the 2021-22 fiscal year?
Supervisor Scribner, through the chair, that'd be correct.
Thank you.
Any other questions from board members before we go to the public? Are there any members of the public here this morning that would like to make comment to us about the report we've just received?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Dennis Fox. I have been coming here whenever you do that monthly problem with the crisis, and I have been quite adamant that we need more resources for the fire department. And I think I would like to see a resolution to get some of this from the state. In the response to the governor's State of the State, I guess he's Assemblyman Dolly, who is where the woods are, and he represents Northern California, says the forests have to be straightened out. The film that came out last week about the on the brink, or beyond the brink, and that has to do with also with the forest. Why I've been on this is Kern County's economic base is agriculture. There's secondary impacts from the fire department because no water, no ag. If we don't have, and the water is not coming from the Delta, that's where we're getting it from, but not where it originates. It originates in the rural areas like the forests. And we're getting a lot of opposition locally to maintaining that. And why, so looking at this, look at it, I think, in a broader and for the economic base of the county. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the public want to make comment to us this morning about the report we received? If you'd like to make a comment, would you please come down towards the front? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Michael Turnipseed. I represent Kern Tax. In your staff report today on the second page, there's a statement that says the fire department does not currently have a long-term budget plan to mitigate the fund's structural deficits, and it goes on to talk about labor negotiations. This is the third year we've been having this discussion, and we find it absolutely amazing that they don't have a plan. The department does not have a plan and refuses to address its own financial sustainability. Your board has a duty and obligation to develop and implement a long-term spending plan that addresses both the basic needs of the department and its excesses. Thank you very much.
Don't see anyone else, so we're going to close the public hearing and return to the board. Any other board members have questions or comments this morning about the report we received?
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Please cast your votes.
Motion is approved, all ayes.
Thank you. That concludes this morning's items that we have before us in public session. We have a closed session items that we need to deal with this morning. So would there be a motion that we adjourn to closed session?
So moved.
Thank you, Supervisor Couch. Without objection, so ordered. We'll be back at 2 o'clock.